Hi Tubies, here's Alexandra again, and well, it is time for a new season of The Hobbit. In a few days, the Hobbit Desolation of Smaug will air in the cinemas, and also at GW there are new miniatures. And now it is time for me to, well, paint a little bit more of Lord of the Rings stuff, or in this case, The Hobbit. For today's tutorial, I have chosen to paint in simple orc. This is an Mordor orc from the Lord of the Rings franchise, from Games Workshop. As you can see, I have previously built him up, spray painted him in black, and attached him to my handy dandy miniature holder. This is, as you can see, quite clearly a simple old paint pot with a little bit of sticky tack or poster tack on top, and place the miniature on it. So, the first thing we are going to do is paint the armor parts of this miniature in silver. And so we take a simple dark silver color, like this one here. You can use whatever brand you like. Be it the old colors like bolt gun metal or lead belcher for the new ones, or whatever you prefer. Some people prefer the Vallejo model color range or the game color range, or whatever, doesn't matter. So as a brush, I use a Citadel standard brush here. This is nothing super fancy, but it works. So simply paint up all the armor parts of the miniature. So here at the chainmail, you simply go slightly over it. In the recesses, you don't need to have silver, just like that. Yeah. So I will finish up all the metal areas and be right back in a second. So Tubies, the silver parts are done now, and now it is time to determine the color of the clothing. I would say we keep it in a dark brown, and so we will now pick out some brown colors. So for example, this three here, we have here Rhinox Hide, then Mornfang Brown, and XV88. So, I would say here the middle section, this here and this, I would paint in the middle color here. And so we start with that. Simply put some of the brown on the palette, and then quickly paint it in that color. It doesn't matter if it is not covering 100%. This is just a first layer of paint put on the miniature before we add some shadows and highlights. So, and don't be afraid if you accidentally paint over some parts, like here. This color is covering, and so we will still be able to cover the other parts of the miniature, and this doesn't bother us right now. Like I said, this is just a first stage of paint. So, same on the other side. Of course, you could paint all the clothing parts in just one brown tone, but I personally prefer to keep the palette on a miniature while mainly sticking at the same color range, so different brown tones, still in different tones. Just picking one color and painting all of it in this color would be rather boring. It's much more interesting if you use different versions. Same applies to green tones or blue tones if you paint a miniature entirely in those colors. For example, if you're painting wood elves or maybe an imperial soldier in just blue tones. So, I will use the same color now for this part here, because this seems like the underclothing, so this would be the same kind of material used for this areas. So soon we are done with it, and then we can move along to a different brown. The good thing about such a miniature holder is you can turn the miniature upside down and all the way around however you want it, so you can very easy reach the areas that you want to paint. So and ta-da, the brown is applied. Obviously, if you paint several miniatures of the same kind, then you would now put a different miniature, apply the same brown tone, do that maybe 5 times, and then the paint on the first miniature is already dry. So now we take, for example, this darker brown tone for the shoulder parts, also putting some on the palette, and then simply apply it to the miniature. Simple as that. Obviously here are some hairs in between, but we can pick those up later in a different tone. It doesn't matter if you simply overpaint them now. This stage is for speed rather than being too picky. If you're at this stage too picky, you will simply raise the time that is needed to paint the miniature without having any real benefit over it, because like I said, we will go over certain other areas again with different colors, and to correct those areas in this stage would be rather useless and simply time consuming. So now we have different brown tones here for the sleeves at his arms here, and maybe his boots. So, and for that we take another tone now, the X88. Also, you could at this stage simply mix the colors together. For example, here, let's do this then. The color, take some XV88 in between those two, and then simply mixing them together, creating a new brown tone, just like that. Ta-da! So, and with that, I simply paint the boots. It's not Puss in Boots, it's Organ Boots. Wouldn't that be interesting, an orc with a Spanish accent? So, this is number 1. Like I said, it doesn't matter if it is not covering 100% at this stage. This is just the way it is. That's the way it is. the way it is. So, orcs have the tendency in the Lord of the Rings franchise to have several different skin tone variants, from green to browns to white human skin tone, pinkish tones, and some reddish, for example, like the Urukai. I would suggest to make something that pops out a little bit more for the completely brown variants here. So I would take a rather off-tone green to paint him. I will not take such a dark green like this here, for example. This is more like a yeah, fantasy style, high fantasy style orc. I would more go like a way, for example, this here, Gretchen green, or maybe the old goblin green, or Vallejo model color olive green. So there you have some variations. Okay, I have forgotten to paint the arm sleeves, so I will now quickly do that. And you may notice that I have now since 9 minutes and 20 seconds not hit the pause button on the camera. Yeah, very often I get a comment to not cut the video every few seconds. You want to see and observe almost every brush stroke of me. So, okay, here we go. Oh, I forgot to paint the inside of this sleeve. So, quickly grab the color again. Good thing about using pre-mixed colors instead of mixing them on your own is you can always just open the pot and repaint. While when you are mixing your colors, you constantly have to remember the mixing ratios. So, okay, now I will paint also the skin. Like I said, I will use an off-green tone. This time I use Gretchen green, but you can pick your green tone of your choice. This is an older color here. Foundation paints are not produced anymore, but sometimes you can find them still on eBay, or maybe you still have the color available to you. Oops, sorry. There was my light bulb a little bit too low and my brush didn't fit under the camera. Cling. Okie dokie. And there we go. Here's also a little line of skin. And obviously this leg also. And now the whole miniature is pre-painted. This is like I said, the first layer of paint. we will let that completely dry now. That might take about 20 minutes, and then I'll be back. See you in a second. So everybody, now that the color is all dried up, we will now add some shadows to the overall miniature, and for that we use a shade or a wash, Null Oil in this case, or black wash from Vallejo model paints, or whatever you have at hand. So we take an old brush and simply adding in a good fair amount this wash all over the miniature. This will flow into the recesses and leave nice shadows. So this part here at the back I have left intentional in black because I wanted to paint it in black. So no need to overpaint it. Also the staff of the weapon should be in a more blackish way, so I didn't paint it. And voila, the layer of shade is done. Like I said before, if you are painting several miniatures at the same time, this would be a perfect opportunity to paint several miniatures with this same wash. So this totally needs to dry now. This takes a lot longer than letting the other color dry. I prefer to leave that to dry overnight, and well, we see us in a couple of seconds. Be right back. Okie dokie tubies, there I'm back, the very next morning, 3 days later. Yeah, it was a little bit of time until this part, but now we go on. Well, the wash is dry now, and we will start to highlight the parts now. We will start with the cloak up here, and we use Rhinox hide again for that. So, and now I use Rotmarder Echt Kolinski, size 3 brush. He makes a quite good pointy edge, and you see I've flattened it out a little bit to work on the bigger surface areas. So just simply paint over the raised areas, just slightly going over it. You see, it's quite like dry brushing, but with wetter color. So, and there we go. That was the first layer. Now we will highlight this color a little bit. We will add a little bit of Mournfang Brown to that. So, just mix it in, just like that. And again, adjusting the amount of paint on the brush, the palette. Sorry for that. And then we go in again and leave a little bit of the old color behind and paint the raised areas. So this is an infantry miniature you will paint up several of, so no need to be super 100% exact with that stuff. Just go over it like that and you're done. So now I highlight even more with a little bit more Mournfang Brown into the color. And voila. We now create a nice transition between the different brown tones. So just the main raised areas, and we're good to go. So that looks nice. Wash out the brush. Now we start with Mornfang Brown itself for the other parts of his clothing. Just like before, hitting the raised areas. Leaving the wash and the shadows in the recesses. Same goes down here for his skirt. And there we go. So this will be highlighted now with a different brown tone. I use now Baneblade Brown for highlighting purposes. Give it a good shake. Open up the pot. Tiny bit into the color. And this is how it should look like. So, and again, going over the surface with this color. Some people ask me how I can provide still a good pointy edge of the brush. Well, a good care for your brush is key, and having a good brush is also key. So if your brush is constantly spreading out from the beginning, then you're not in a good space. But if you have a good brush, like this one here for example, then you want to avoid to get too much color up to here. Always keep the brush clean, never let him be uncleaned laying around, or paint too long and let the colors dry while painting. And always keep your brush upside down. The pointy edge should always point upwards if you store them, or lay them flat on the ground. Never leave them like that in your water pot or something like that, then you will ruin your bristles. Also, dry brushing and heavy duty work will do no good for your brush. If you have real hair brushes, you can sometimes wash them with a tiny little drop of hair conditioner. That always works wonders on real hair bristles. Something along that line. Sometimes just simply use soap for that. There are obviously brush soaps available, but a simple hard soap you can buy in every store, and then you wetten your brush, and then you go over the hard soap. Will also give it a good clean. When you are cleaning your brush, show that to you right now. So I roll them always slightly on the edge of the water glass, and then I wash it like that. And then you take your trusty paper towel and very flat you turn your brush slightly and get rid of the water, and you see constantly, ta-da, we have a nice point. And that's the whole secret of keeping your brush clean and with a good point. So, but now we will go on painting. I will highlight now even more with, again, a little bit of that color here into the old one. And you see, I'm only picking up the high spots now. And you see, for example, here, this is a relative flat area, but just with the painting I created some three-dimensional effect on this area. That way you can even make some plastic miniatures like that look more than they are just cast. So, what else? Now we go for the black parts here. In order to highlight black, we need a gray. And what I'm doing now is, I use Ashen Gray. Also, a little bit on the palette. I always put the color previously on the palette. Never just use the color directly out of the pot, because you can simply adjust the amount of paint you have on your bristles on the palette that you can't do on the pot itself. So what I will do now for highlighting is I make an edge highlight, but only on one side. So I go here, this way, L-shaped, then here again, and here. Same on this side here. And there you go. Now I need a brighter gray. So for that I just add a little bit of white to the color. Just a little bit. Just like that. Making good pointy edge. And then I paint less of that to make a nice glancy edge. See? Now I need a little bit more white. Adjust to a good point again, and then we will paint only this little tip here. And ta-da! You have a nice 3D glancing effect on the black. So now we have a look at his skin tone. I made a foundation out of Gretchen green, followed by a wash, and now we will use the Gretchen green again as our first highlight. But again, just use the green tone that you have previously used if you don't have used Gretchen green. So again, like before, slightly go over it, and you can highlight here the fingers. Same would go for the face. Obviously this orc has a helmet and you don't see the face. But I have several videos here on my channel on how to paint faces on several occasions, and this is just the same procedure, then with a different skin tone, just with other colors. So, lucky for us, this miniature don't have that many skin, and this would be rather quick. So in order to highlight, I use now some Screaming Skull. Just put some into the color, and with that I'll pick out some high spots here. So, and just like that, the miniature is play ready. I will now make the base. So, for this base, I will now use the new Agrellan Earth Technical Paint that is recently come up from GW. And you see here from the color choice, Agrellan Earth, the technical paint is from the color quite similar to Baneblade Brown. And we use that now, here, the Baneblade Brown, to previously paint around the feet of the miniature. So, that way I don't have to come super close to the feet with the Agrellan Earth. Don't paint the whole base with it, because we want the the base itself to be black, so that the crackle effect comes nice through. And yet again, I use some of the black to reduce the amount of this color. Just like that, so that we can then see the crackles better. Okay, there we go. And now we use the Agrellan Earth Technical Paint. This is a crackle paint. That means the thicker the paint is, the heavier the crackle effect is. So, give it a good shake, and take an older brush, obviously. So, and now, this time it is okay to grab it directly from the pot. So, you're making a big blob, then you paint the whole base with it, just like you would normally paint the base with white glue, if you want to sand it. And now we need more. This is just the flat surface area here, but in order to have a nice crackle, we need definitely more of that stuff. The more, the heavier the crackle. So, just take again a big blob, place it here, move it a little bit around, scrape it off at the edge, and so this needs to dry now at least 1 or 2 hours until it is completely set. But after that we have a nice playable miniature with a nice base. So I'll be back in a second when this is dry and the crackle effect is done. And there we go again. You have seen how it crackled in the time lapse, and now we pick it up from our stand. So zoom out a little bit. So this is how it looks now. Really nice crackle effect. And to give it the last touch, I will add 2 little dead grass tufts. And for that, I simply take my white glue and an old brush. So, and a pair of tweezers. So, pick up the grass, paint the bottom with white glue, and then simply attach it on the base, one on the front, and maybe one at the back. So, and at last, finally, we take some black paint to paint the edge of the base. Make a clean, nice edge. Also, you could paint that brown or green or whatever color you want to have the edge of the base. So, and then you take some paper towel and press the base on so that you don't leave markings on your surface. And ta-da! The work is done. That's it. That was the tutorial. I hope you like it. How it turns out. Well, obviously the white glue will be transparent in the end. I left the metal colors in this dark metal tone with a wash over it because, well, let's face it, orcs are not famous for their shiny armors. Well, so much for this tutorial, and we see us in the next video. You're Alexandra.